everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Soul Survivors of Chicago, Breaking the Silence. Our talk show is here today to bring awareness to suicide prevention and mental health. And we have these great discussions every week on Thursday at 6 p.m. here on CAN TV, Channel 21. So shout out to CAN TV for this platform. And I want to introduce today our guest, who is Maya Robertson. Yes. Ms. Maya Robertson is a licensed social worker and works in the field, as well as does a holistic approach to mental health and wellness, and has got some exciting things coming up, y'all. So I want to not talk too much and let her be able to talk. And then we have these conversations, as you know, and get to know each other and talk about some of the things as it relates to mental health and wellness. Maybe in Mental Health Awareness Month coming up, we at Soul Survivors are planning a host of events, so stay tuned for that. But welcome.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, girl. Yes. I get used to that.
Yes.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell the audience.
So just a quick bio about me. I am a Zumba instructor and I love to shake something. And the reason why is Zumba has helped me in my mental health journey. It's literally a self-care journey for me with Zumba because one, I'm not only losing calories, but I feel good about myself. So my self-esteem is boosted, the way I look, and I'm like, I look good, okay, when I'm dancing and when I'm moving. And so I thought Zumba was a very good approach to try to introduce mental health in that way, because I found as a social worker, there's a lot of people who are not ready for therapy, not ready to join a class or not ready to even do, support groups, being around people that you don't know and you're exposing your info to this stuff. So I felt the need to bring more options to people for healing. So you don't have to just go to therapy. You don't have to just join a class. You can find different ways to heal and in your way, because you can live this life unapologetically if you decide, okay, I want to dance to feel good, or I want to talk to someone to feel good, but that's your choice. And I wanted to give more options with that. And as a result, I decided to create a business called the I Am Movement, where we incorporate things like Zumba and mental health education to enhance mental health, to say you don't have to just be in a therapy session. You don't have to just be in a support group if you're mandated. So you have the choice to heal, and you can choose a mental health workshop. You can choose a Zumba class. You can choose a meditation class. You can choose a peace circle. I created that for people to give options to say that you can choose the way you want to live. And the I Am Movement, like the purpose behind it is, it's a firm where it's a plant, a hardy plant that grows in difficult places. And so my thing was, with these skills, with my stories, I want to pour some water into these communities that have more trauma than healing. And I want us to bloom together out of that thing.
I love that. So when you think about healing and mental health, can you tell me, why is it important to invest in yourself with your mental health? Like, why do you feel that out of all the things that you could endeavor in, why this,
I love answering this question. It's because we look at physical health and how we go to the ER because we have a gash, a wound, or something that we need immediate attention. Mental health is one of those things that can manifest into your physical health. For example, I am a victim of sexual assault, and that thing manifested in my body to say I'm not good enough. It was my fault. Like I didn't do this, I didn't do that, and it manifested into physical pain. And with that physical pain, I wasn't sure what was going on because I wasn't working out. The type of pain that was going on, you would think it would be through working out and bench pressing and stuff like that, but it was literally the pain that I was feeling from what I've been through. And so I say that to say mental health, if you're not going to take care of your mental health, it can manifest into physical health and physical issues down the line if you don't address, because the physical, it's the body, and our mental is the mind.
Exactly.
So if you don't take care of your mind, that mind can trickle down into your physical, with that movement, not being able to get out of bed, not being able to go to the bathroom, and like some people just feel like they're so stuck that they can't do for themselves. But that's what trauma can do to people, you know. And so addressing your mental health is just as important as your physical health because it can manifest in different ways.
Wow. Yeah, that is true. That is true. I always say that this is the command center that helps the rest of this go.
Yes.
And this needs to be trained. It needs to be introduced to certain things and, you know, be able to be healthy and be exposed so it can put the commands for everything else to go, you know?
Absolutely.
And so oftentimes we feel like it's no the body, but the mind starts first, in my opinion. You know, just in my opinion, what I've experienced. So
I agree. Your mind is a weapon. It's a weapon, and it's, as a social worker, I'm very adamant about helping people figure out how to use their mind as that weapon and figure out how to use it for their life and for their healing, not just what others expect you to do to heal, you know?
Very true, very true.
Yeah.
So one of the things on our show is we talk about is stigma and try to bring it up and at least introduce it because we're breaking the silence. And so when I ask the word and I think about stigma, I always want to ask audiences and of course our guests, what does stigma mean to you? Like when you think about stigma, what does it mean to you? And then also, where do you see it happening in our world when it comes to mental health? Like how do you feel, you know, it impacts and that kind of thing? What is your thoughts?
So, as far as stigma, I've experienced people thinking that therapy is only mandated, you know, like with Child Protective Services, you know, things like that. And or if you're quote unquote crazy, we all got stuff going on now. You know, I don't know what sane means at this point. But you know, we think of therapy and mental health as just this crazy thing, like somebody has to be in a hospital, when it's not that at all. You know, with social work, they think we just take people's kids, and it's not just that at all. So those are the type of stigmas that I've heard over time. And the thing that I like to say with those stigmas is it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to stay that way. You know, we had a certain mindset growing up, like our parents had to survive a certain way with a certain mindset, but it doesn't have to stay that way. You know, and what was your other question?
Well, when it comes to the stigma, where do you see it in our community? For example, you spoke about it in mental health, and we always have come to think about it as being like crazy. And in a couple of years, within the last years, I've seen a better understanding of mental health and wellness because a lot of things are centered around yoga and there's more circles that are talking about the importance. We see more celebrities promoting it, so therefore it's like becoming normalized. But there's often been a time when mental health or mental illness was looked at as a real sticky kind of thing. Yeah.
And so I do see like mental health is being more promoted now, which I think is so awesome because it's so important, and I think it's been minimized because it's not something that you always see on the surface, like a physical injury that you have to go to the ER with. But I think COVID is what kind of introduced mental health because there were a lot of reports, a lot of statistics around increasing anxiety, increasing depression, people committing suicide. I think that's where mental health became more prevalent because of COVID. And just moving forward, when it comes to learning about mental health, you start where you want to start. So you don't have to feel pressure to learn about it, because therapy as a therapist, it's about me helping you figure out your way to live life, not me putting something on you, not me putting a lifestyle on you. I can give you suggestions and I can, suggest this and that, but if you say, no, this is not going to work for me, then it's not going to work. Let's try something else.
Okay.
I like to snap in my session. I'm like, I'll snap on that.
Yeah, I enjoy that. Yeah. So, that's good words to think through. Today's show is about the power of connection. And of course, having our guest on, we're talking about events and things that are coming up. And before we talk a little bit about your event that's coming up, I wanted to ask if we could talk about maybe 5 powerful connections that you see that would help somebody in their healthy lifestyle. That could be a resource, that could be some type of activity? Like, what do you see would be beneficial if we can think of 5 things to give the audience?
I got 3 automatically.
Okay.
And as I talk, it might still come. So the first one is affirmations. Toni Jones, Toni. She has a whole album of affirmation songs. One is called Energy Budget, and there's a phrase in there that she says that was just so powerful to me. She said, I'll be mindful of how I access my emotional resources. So being mindful of who I go to for that emotional support, because everybody don't have it. And I'm a snap on that, because that's a word. That's a word. So affirmations, they sound weird, or it can sound weird at first, but that's how we pour into ourselves. That's how we can pour into ourselves. We can pour in and tell ourselves like, okay, this sucks, but I got this on this other thing, you know? And so that's important. So affirmation, Mental Health America has been my go-to to access like mental health resources, and just they're really good about mental health according to like a certain group, a certain culture. So they address mental health in different ways. So they're a good resource to go to. They also have different assessments where it's kind of like a screening where you're not diagnosed with anxiety, for example, but they will tell you that you're experiencing anxiety symptoms. So you may want to talk to somebody about this. So they don't diagnose you, but it shows you kind of where you are, like what you might be struggling with. So I recommend Mental Health America. And for my Black men, Antonio Wheeler. Antonio Wheeler, Anchored in Wellness. He is an awesome therapist. He's very very down to earth. He's not the type to be suit and tie and just like, oh, you know, what are you thinking? He's not. He's very, very personable. And we actually did a men's event together in February, and he basically talked about his own journey and how it helped him be a better therapist and be a better man, be a better father. So for men, if you're able to get in contact with him, Antonio Wheeler, Anchored in Wellness, that is a good resource. Another resource for my Black women, is Therapy for Black Girls. It's a podcast, and they have different subjects all related to mental health, but they have different topics of relationships, being a Black woman in a job or a Black woman in a higher position, because there's struggles with that. So Therapy for Black Girls is a good guiding like conversation, or a good start to kind of addressing what you might be going through, what you might be struggling with, and it's very insightful too. Was that 4 or 5?
That was 4.
That was 4?
That was good.
Another one, I do recommend some type of movement. So you don't have to shake something like me, but some type of movement to release your body. So if it's just you hugging yourself and saying, girl, you've been through a lot, but you got this, just moving like that, it can help you release something. It may not release everything that you're going through, but releasing something with that movement.
Let's see. Let's try it. Ooh, I like that. Girl.
You've been through so much.
But
you got this. You are enough.
You are progress.
And I will embrace all of you. And deep breath. Yes.
Snap,
you can shake it. Yeah, you can shake it or snap, whichever you want to do. So I do recommend some type of movement. So it can be something like yoga. I'm trained in something called circle mobility, which is kind of like a friendlier version of yoga, or like walking, or like I said, just hugging yourself, giving yourself that love. Okay. Some type of movement I recommend.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So those were some good resources, 5 healthy connections that are powerful that you can do to enhance your mental health and your wellness, something to think through. There are tons of resources that we'll also be able to provide. You can check out our website, soulsurvivorsofchicago.com. And while we're talking about resources, there's an exciting event coming up that you are planning.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about it, and we can go to the flyer?
Yes. Oh, I do look cute, don't I? Oh my gosh. So yes, I am having an Honor of Mental Health Awareness Month in May. I'm having a virtual and in-person workshop called My Body, My Mind, and My Power. And it's basically a workshop to give, basic education around mental health, like what is trauma, doing, what it looks like, what it can look like on the body, some different things that can get in the way of us addressing those mental health issues or challenges, and me emphasizing that you got the power. You have the power to either change what you're in, you got the power to stay, in what you're in, but you have the power to make those choices for yourself, and you have the right. You deserve, a better life for yourself. So realizing that mental health can be a challenge, but you got this, and you are progress. So and identifying any progress with what you're going through is so important. So I talk about those things. I talk about how it is a struggle dealing with your mental health, and you have, these killings going on, these shootings going on, racism still going on. It's so hard to still try to take care of yourself and maintain your sanity. But you have the choice to take big steps or small steps, and it's just as important. It's just a big progress. It's a big progress either way, because you're making a change for yourself. Whether that is just going to therapy and saying, I'm gonna take a break. I don't know if I'm ready for this. But that strength, that power is you going there. You taking that step and going to therapy, and you seeing like, okay, maybe not yet, but I see where I need to go next, or I see maybe my next step. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I talk about all those things, like having those conversations to say mental health is a challenge, and these life be lifing. Mm-hmm. And these life things be lifing, and they affect us, they impact us, and it's okay to acknowledge that, because you're not weak. You're not less than if you feel like you get emotional or you feel stressed out. Like, it's not a weakness. It's not a weakness at all. It's a strength to acknowledge that I've been doing so much and I'm drained. It's okay to acknowledge that, because when you acknowledge it, you understand I'm not going back there. You can decide for yourself, like, okay, do I want to go back to that, feeling that, or do I want something different? And so I kind of talk about some of those things throughout the presentation.
Oh, that's so powerful.
Yes.
You all make sure you mark that down on your calendar. And for more information, you can always contact us at soulsurvivorsofchicago.com. But that sounds like a definite investment for your mental health and wellness.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how it works and goes. Yeah.
Thank you. And I wanted to make it a virtual and in-person experience for people to, be available if they want to. Because if we do the virtual, I will record it in case people want to see it later. And then in person as well for people who want to do that, have that in-person experience. And the in-person workshop is in Inglewood. And I know what some of y'all are thinking, okay? But let me address, Inglewood is an asset, and if you learned Inglewood in a different way to say it's dangerous, it's unsafe, I understand all that, and it's definitely pros and cons with any neighborhood. But the people that I've met, the connections that I've had. Let me know that Inglewood is another asset that is very, very underestimated. And I want to share that Inglewood is not just the bad neighborhood or just dangerous. It has its assets. And I wanted to share that in that community, because that's one of the communities that is overlooked because of the violence, because of the dangerous. And so they definitely don't know about mental health. Like, some of them definitely don't want to even access mental health. We're not ready to. For the men's event, I gave a flyer to a guy, and he said, I'm not crazy. Like, you said mental health, I'm not crazy though. I'm like, you don't have to be crazy to ask for help. And he was like, well, I got God for that. I'm like, okay, well, here's another option. Here's another option. And so I want to be able to bring that to a community where trauma is more normal than healing, because that is a community where it's a lot going on, and I want to show that there's another way to be, and through mental health you can figure that out. Not the only way, but that's one way you can figure out there's another way to be.
Cool. Yes, so support and invest in our neighborhoods. Inglewood definitely is a gem, and I thank you for sharing that. That's really important to know.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about, our whys, why we're doing certain things and why you've done it. Got involved with being a social worker all the way down to just involving yourself in yoga and Zumba. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if you could share what you've done to address adversity. Those things that's come in your life. You did talk about being a survivor, and then also, the things that you have endured. What are your tools and tips for folks, when it comes to adversity?
Ooh. That's a loaded one. So the first thing, is kind of like 3 out of 5 of that list that I gave you. My number one thing that I've embraced so much is affirmation. I've learned that affirmation builds me up, and not in a way that I'm feeling like cocky about myself, but just it's a reminder that yes, this life sucks sometimes, but I'm still thriving in these different ways. Like this life sucks right here, this part of life sucks, but I still got these things going. That's good for me. So affirmations has been tremendous in my life, and Zumba has been tremendous in my life because of that physical pain. Like I felt that physical pain when I was recently after I was assaulted, and so that movement was so important for me because like for someone who's dealing with that, or someone who's even dealing with aggression and it manifests in your body, like releasing it by moving, it's like, okay, I know how I feel about this, and I'm releasing it somewhere. I'm releasing it somewhere. It's not on me anymore. It's not as much on me. So movement has been a major thing. Music, like I said, the affirmation music is so good. And honestly, I'm learning now. I'm starting to learn to embrace my safe spaces and not embrace the survival mode that I was in, and what I felt I think I needed at that time. But now embracing and investing in my safe spaces, which is my fiance. He might get a little emotional, but he is my safe space, and I am learning to embrace that it's okay to be happy. It's okay to slow down. Like I don't have to fight all the time. So yeah, I'm embracing my safe spaces.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Embracing safe spaces. How powerful is that? How powerful is that? Yes. I thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Got me a little emotional, but it's okay. It's okay to get emotional.
Well, as we wrap up with the show, I've got this last segment where we call Words to Live By, right? So I've pulled a few words together, and I'm hoping you can give the definition of them. Last week we had a youth come in and give us definition of things like being led or being, that hit and all that kind of stuff. So we got that together.
Okay.
But on the clinical side, we have words that come out a lot of times, and I think most of us who know the jargon know it, and then for others, we don't.
Yeah.
So I was hoping you can give a short synopsis of a few words that we use a lot, just for folks to know and kind of learn on.
For sure.
Okay. The first word is culturally competent therapy. What would you define that as if somebody was told you need culturally competent therapy?
The first word that comes to mind is aware. Being aware of that culture. And so an example of not being culturally competent is like for the LGBTQ community, saying things like saying the F word, like saying fag, for example. That's not culturally competent because that's considered an offensive word. And if you don't research the LGBTQ community and you say something like that can definitely just she gone or he gone out the therapy session because you're not understanding where they're coming from. You're not understanding that this is something that's a part of their life. So understanding the language, understanding the terms with LGBTQ is important to how to help someone, how to support someone. Because if you just go in and then they identify that they're LGBTQ and you know nothing about it, how are you going to help them? And if it turns into you just telling them what to do, that's not what a therapist is supposed to do. It's supposed to help you, suggest, recommend, but they're not supposed to just tell you what to do. So that's kind of what comes to my mind, being aware of that culture in that person. Okay, so being aware, culturally competent. A couple other things. What would be like a treatment plan if somebody heard that? What would they think? What would you kind of explain that to? Yeah. So a treatment plan is basically just goals, and what are you going to do to try to achieve those goals? Okay. So for example, if I still had this physical pain going on, and the goal would be increasing physical movement to alleviate the pain. So my goal or my plan for that, so that's the goal. So the plan would be to go to like a Zumba class or go to some type of movement class. So that's kind of what treatment plan consists of. It consists of the goals, how are you going to try to meet those goals, and what is your ultimate outcome? Like a roadmap. Yeah, basically. Okay. Yeah. So we've got treatment plan, we've got cultural competent.
the other one I wanted to look at is just kind of what is a way a person can, or what do you suggest they should be prepared for when going to their first session? Oftentimes I think about just having no expectations coming in there, but what do you feel that would be helpful for someone watching if they were going to be seeking mental health services?
That's a good question. My personal opinion, I always promote asking questions. So bring all your questions to therapy. You know, especially if this is your first time. If you have your wall up about it for whatever reason, bring questions. Bring questions to therapy. And I would also say just bring an open mind. Bring an open mind, because I understand. I come from a family that, like, emotions and things weren't as discussed as much, and so accessing my feelings has been a challenge. And I say being open, because it's a different thing. It's a different space to be in. You going from you only speaking to family and nobody else in your business to talking to a complete stranger, essentially. So being open to that change, because if you're trying to make a change, you got to be open to it. Because if you closed off to, no, I don't want to change. I want this and this in my life, but I don't want to change these other things. How can you have change if you don't be open to it?
Yeah.
So it's okay to be uncomfortable too. So and that's why I'm saying being open to change, and part of that change can be feeling uncomfortable. So it's okay to feel uncomfortable for your first time in therapy. It's okay to have questions. It's okay to still not be sure, but bring those questions. Say why you're uncomfortable, and hopefully you have a therapist that can help you guide you through that, and say, yeah, we can meet you where you are. You know, what do you want to talk about today? You may have came in for one reason, but what do you want to talk about today? So coming in with an open mind, and asking a lot of questions. That's okay.
Awesome. Well, we're getting ready to wrap up.
Yeah.
And I want to first thank you for coming aboard. This was awesome discussion. The power of connection here on Soul Survivors of Chicago with Maya Robinson. Yes.
You press the button, I'm a snap.
Oh, no. And just understanding that this is a platform that talks about mental health and suicide prevention. We are so grateful for your time and your support. Thank you for coming on, and we look forward for everyone to join us next week as we talk about and continue with our discussion on mental health and suicide prevention. With that being said, you can follow us at soulsurvivorsofchicago.com and all our social media platforms. I wish you well, be safe, and take care.
Yes, take care.